South Africa is a country where contrasts are visible at every step. Here, poverty and luxury coexist. Colossal resources stand alongside chronic deprivation, and the skyscrapers of Johannesburg rise over the shacks of townships. And yet, South Africa has always been a land of opportunity for those who knew how to fight, take risks, and build. When it comes to the wealthiest black families in South Africa, the first name that comes to mind is Motsepe. Their story is not just one of business success, but a true saga of how a man born in the midst of apartheid managed to turn every barrier into a stepping stone toward the summit. The patriarch of the family, Patrice Motsepe, was born in 1962 in Soweto, the son of a small shop owner. His childhood unfolded in an environment where skin color determined everything, where you lived, the school you attended, and even the dreams you were allowed to have. But Motsepe grew up as an observer. Working in his father's store, he saw how mine workers lived, heard their conversations about backbreaking labor and poverty, and gradually realized that gold and platinum were not only the wealth of the land, but also the key to the future. At first, Patrice chose the path of law. After studying at the University of Swaziland and later at the University of the Witwatersrand, he became the first black partner at the prominent law firm Bowman Gilfillan. His specialization was mining law. Symbolically, he was already laying the groundwork for his future without even knowing it. In the early 1990s, with the fall of apartheid, Motsepe was among those who understood that a new South Africa was opening up new horizons. Major reforms were underway, and white corporations that had controlled resources for decades were now required to share. That was when Patrice founded African Rainbow Minerals, ARM. He took a risk, investing everything he had into mining, and soon became one of the first black entrepreneurs to receive licenses for gold and platinum extraction. His approach was different from others. While many chased quick profits, he focused on long-term projects. He purchased mines that were considered unprofitable and through efficient management transformed them into profitable enterprises. Soon, African Rainbow Minerals became a symbol of South Africa's black economic miracle. But the wealth of the Motsepe family was not only built on mines, they diversified their assets, investing in finance, telecommunications, energy, and sports. Patrice became the first African billionaire to enter Forbes' list. Today, his fortune is valued in the billions of dollars and continues to grow. Sport also plays a special role in the Motsepe legacy. In 2003, he purchased the football club Mamelodi Sundowns. At first, it seemed like the whim of a billionaire, but soon the club became one of the strongest in Africa. Football in South Africa is more than just a game. It is a way of uniting people, and Motsepe understood this well. Through Sundowns, he not only strengthened his name, but also demonstrated how business and sport could work hand in hand. Equally important is the family's commitment to philanthropy. Patrice and his wife Precious signed the Giving Pledge, a global initiative in which billionaires commit to donating a significant portion of their wealth to social projects. Motsepe was the first African to join this effort, started by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Their foundation works in education, healthcare, and support for impoverished communities. Today, the Motsepe family represents the new class of African elites. They are proof that a black family can not only overcome the brutal restrictions of the past, but also lead an entire industry. Their story is one of determination, knowledge, and timing, transforming not just the fate of one man, but of an entire nation. And this is only the beginning. Because in South Africa, there are other families whose names have also become synonymous with wealth and power. They achieved success through different paths, business, politics, and culture, and it is in this diversity that the true strength of the country lies. From the story of the Motsepe family, we now turn to another dynasty that demonstrates how closely politics and business are intertwined in South Africa. If the Motsepes became the symbol of economic miracles and entrepreneurial success, then the Ramaphosas are the example of how wealth and power can combine to create a dynasty that influences the fate of millions. Cyril Ramaphosa is known around the world as the President of South Africa, but his path to the top was no less impressive than that of the Motsepes. Born in 1952 in Johannesburg, he began as a lawyer and activist involved in the fight against apartheid. In the 1980s, he became one of the leaders of the National Union of Mine Workers, fighting for the rights of gold and platinum miners. It was there that Ramaphosa first displayed his talents as a negotiator and strategist. After the fall of apartheid, his name became closely linked to politics. He participated in the negotiations that led to the country's first democratic constitution. But politics was not his only interest. Realizing that the new South Africa needed a strong business sector, he stepped into entrepreneurship. And here begins the story of the Ramaphosa family's wealth. Through his company, Shanduka Group, he entered multiple industries: mining, real estate, finance, energy, and telecommunications. His business empire grew as rapidly as his political influence. One of the most notable milestones was a deal with McDonald's, giving him the rights to expand the franchise in South Africa. It was a symbolic moment, a global corporation entrusting its brand to an African entrepreneur. Ramaphosa skillfully balanced between politics and business. Although he was often criticized for being too close to big corporations, the fact remains that his family became one of the richest in the country. His wife, Chipo Motsepe, is Patrice Motsepe's sister, further cementing the alliance between two powerful families. And this marriage created for a genuine South African dynastic alliance, intertwining finance, politics, and social initiatives. The Ramaphosa family's wealth is estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But for them, wealth is not only about money, it is about access to levers of power and the ability to shape the country's future. Ramaphosa has invested heavily in agriculture, seeing it as the key to Africa's food security. His farms, where livestock is raised and produce is grown, have become models of modern agribusiness. Of course, controversy has followed. Critics argue that the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of such families exacerbates social inequality. But at the same time, it cannot be denied that figures like Ramaphosa help set the course of South Africa's future. They influence politics, the economy, and social development all at once, and that makes them not just wealthy, but powerful. Thus, if the Motsepes represent the story of entrepreneurship, then the Ramaphosas represent the story of power. Two families bound by kinship became symbols of how in modern South Africa, the elite can unite money and influence, creating unique alliances. But there is also a third family without which the picture would be incomplete. Their path differs from the first two. It is the story of how culture, media, and creativity can bring just as much wealth and power as gold or politics. If the Motsepe and Ramaphosa dynasties embody the strength of capital and authority, then the Maphosa family shows the third path, the path of culture, media, and creativity transformed into a source of wealth and influence. Their story is a vivid example of how national identity can become not only a cultural, but also an economic resource. In the early 1990s, South Africa was going through a time of massive change. The fall of apartheid, the first democratic elections, the birth of a new nation. While many entrepreneurs were seeking opportunities in mining, construction, or financial services, Robbie Maphosa chose a completely different path. He understood that the new generation of South Africans needed music, film, and art that would speak to them in their own language, reflecting their joys, their pain, and their hopes. The music company he created almost from nothing soon became one of the symbols of the new South Africa. He managed to bring dozens of artists onto the big stage, who sang about freedom, about love, about the lives of ordinary people in townships. Records, concerts, tours, all of this brought in huge profits, but far more important was something else. Maphosa gave African culture a powerful voice, one that was heard not only in Johannesburg and Cape Town, but also in London, New York, and Lagos. Over time, the family began investing in television, radio stations, and even film production. Their projects determined what people would discuss over breakfast, which songs would play in the streets, and which heroes would become the idols of a new generation. The influence of the Maphosa family soon went beyond entertainment. They were shaping national consciousness and becoming cultural leaders. The next generation went even further. The children and grandchildren of Robbie Maphosa realized that the digital age opened new horizons. They invested capital in streaming platforms, online media, advertising agencies, and IT startups. In this way, the family secured its position in a sector that not only brought enormous profits, but also gave them the ability to control the attention of millions of people. In a world where information became the most valuable currency, this gave the Maphosas special weight in society and politics. By the mid-2020s, the family owned shares in the country's largest media conglomerates, promoted South African films at international festivals, and supported young musicians and artists. Their brands were known far beyond the continent, and their wealth was estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But money had long ceased to be their only goal. Like the Maphosas saw their mission as ensuring that Africa would be heard loudly and confidently on the global stage. Together, the three dynasties, Motsepe, Ramaphosa, and Maphosa, form a kind of triangle of power. One controls capital and industry, another stands at the crossroads of business and politics, and the third shapes culture and public opinion. Together, they reflect modern South Africa in all its complexity, a country that endured the pain of apartheid but managed to raise a new generation of leaders ready to compete with the most influential families in the world. And here lies the most important point. The wealth of South Africa's black dynasties cannot be measured only by the numbers in their bank accounts. Their influence is felt in every aspect of life, in the laws that are passed, in the businesses that are created, in the songs played on the radio, and in the stories told by films.